Reach up to your range hood right now and run a single finger along the underside, just past the light. Now look at your fingertip. That sticky yellow-brown film clinging to your skin is not dust. That is vaporized cooking oil, 6 months of it, perhaps a full year, and it is the reason your kitchen carries the faint ghost of last week's dinner, no matter how many times the counter is wiped down. Most people never think to clean it. They scrub the stovetop until it gleams and walk away, while the single dirtiest object in the entire kitchen hangs quietly above their heads. But here is what caught my attention. In Japan, a range hood would never have been allowed to reach this state. There is a method for it, passed quietly from grandmother to daughter, that uses nothing but hot water and 2 things already sitting under the kitchen sink, and it asks for 15 minutes of waiting and almost no effort at all. Stay with me. By the end of this video, you will never look at your kitchen the same way again. To understand why, it helps to know what is actually happening above your stove. The range hood, the extractor canopy built into the wall above the cooktop, has one job. It pulls the smoke, the steam, and the airborne grease away from the cooking. Every time an egg is fried, a steak is seared, or a pot of curry is left to simmer, microscopic droplets of oil rise into the air and are drawn upward into that hood. Most of them are caught by a metal mesh filter, a flat panel of fine aluminum honeycomb, and that filter does its job perfectly. It collects the grease. The trouble is that the filter is almost never emptied. Over months, the mesh clogs solid with a thick, hardened crust of cooking fat, and a clogged filter can no longer pull air efficiently. So the smoke and grease the cooking produces stops leaving the room. It settles instead, landing on the cabinets, the walls, the curtains, and the back of every plate in the cupboard. The kitchen smells of old food because the old food never actually left. And the usual response, a spray degreaser misted across the surface, fails because the spray simply slides off baked on grease. The symptom is treated, and the source is missed entirely. The Japanese approach begins from a different place altogether. There is a word in Japanese, soji. It translates loosely as cleaning, but it means something closer to returning a space to its proper order. The principle at the heart of suji is that symptoms are not chased. The source of the disorder is found, and the source is what is addressed. A monk sweeping a temple does not polish the one visible spot a guest might happen to notice. He cleans the whole floor, including the corners no one ever sees, because the corner is where the dust begins. There is a second idea here as well, mottainai, the quiet regret of waste. In many Western kitchens, a filter this clogged is simply thrown out and replaced. But the Japanese instinct is the opposite. The filter is not used up. It is buried, and beneath the grease, it is perfectly good aluminum, waiting to be restored. So rather than spraying a surface and hoping, the Japanese method goes straight to the filter, and it lets chemistry, not muscle, do the work. The method itself is quiet, and it is built almost entirely on patience rather than effort. It begins with the filter, which in nearly every range hood is held by nothing more than a small spring clip and comes away in a moment. Once it is free, it goes into water, and the temperature of that water matters more than anything else in the whole process. The water is as hot as the tap will give, because heat is the first and most powerful tool here. Heat softens fat. It is the same principle behind why a greasy pan surrenders under hot water and resists under cold. The molecules of hardened cooking fat, locked rigid at room temperature, begin to loosen the moment they are warmed. Into that hot water go 2 ordinary things. The first is a generous amount of dish soap, which is not a mild product at all, but by its very design, a degreaser. Every molecule of dish soap has two ends that behave like opposites. One end is drawn to oil and grips it. The other is drawn to water. So when the soap meets the grease, thousands of these molecules surround each droplet of fat and carry it off into the water. The second thing is baking soda, roughly half a cup of it. Baking soda is gently alkaline, and grease is acidic, and when an alkaline substance meets an acidic one, it neutralizes it and breaks the bond holding it in place. The soap dissolves the grease while the baking soda loosens its grip on the metal. Then comes the part of the method that surprises visitors to a Japanese kitchen most of all. Nothing. The filter rests in the hot, cloudy water, untouched, for about 15 minutes. There is no scrubbing, no scraping, no straining against baked-on crust. The heat, the soap, and the baking soda do the labor that a Western kitchen tries to force with a muscle and a spray can. The proof of it shows in the water itself, which slowly turns from clear to yellow to a murky brown as the grease lifts off the aluminum and dissolves. By the end of the soak, most of that grease rinses away under a running tap with no effort. And whatever clings to the corners of the mesh gives way to the lightest pass of a soft brush. The hood itself, the metal canopy above the stove, is treated just as gently, with a loose paste of baking soda and a little water spread thin across the greasy surface, left for around 10 minutes, and then carried away, paste and grease together, with a warm, damp cloth. A final wipe with a cloth dampened in plain white vinegar returns the stainless steel to an even shine. In a Japanese household, this whole quiet routine is repeated about once a month, and that monthly rhythm is the real secret, because a filter cleaned every month never gets the chance to clog, and a 15-minute soak never becomes a 15-hour battle. The cost of all this is far smaller than most people would expect. A can of commercial kitchen degreaser spray runs somewhere between $5 and $10, and on a filter, this badly clogged, it often does not even work. Dish soap is already in the house, and a single squirt costs a few cents. A box of baking soda is about $1 and lasts for months. The method works out, realistically, to under 20 cents each time it is run. And there is a larger saving hidden beneath that one, because a neglected filter eventually fails completely, and a replacement range hood filter can cost $20 to $40, sometimes considerably more for a built-in model. The monthly soak means that filter never has to be bought at all. It is pennies spent to avoid spending $50. But the deeper lesson here was never really about a range hood. It is about Tsuji, and about the difference between a symptom and a source. For months, a counter that was never the problem may have been wiped again and again, while the true cause hung quietly overhead, out of sight and out of mind. That is how grease wins, not loudly but silently, one invisible droplet at a time, until the whole room carries the smell. And almost every tired, stale, hard-to-place problem in a home behaves this way. The thing that keeps being cleaned is rarely the thing that is actually dirty. The Japanese instinct is to stop, to look up, and to ask a quieter question. Where is this truly coming from? Clean the source, and the symptom never returns. A kitchen does not smell of old food because it is dirty. It smells of old food because the old food was never given a way out. So perhaps this week, before the next wipe of the counter, it is worth reaching up and running a finger along the underside of your own range hood. What comes away on your fingertip will tell you everything about what your kitchen has quietly been breathing. If this changed the way you think about your own kitchen, consider subscribing so the next Japanese method finds its way to you. And if you would like every method gathered together in one place, you will find it waiting in the description below. Until next time, Keep the practice quiet, and the house will keep itself.